O.J. Simpson, he's no stranger to crowds, cheers, and jeers.
He was more than a sports hero. He was an American invention, a charismatic, record-shattering athlete who broke through racial barriers with a $1 million smile. O.J. Simpson wasn't just famous, he was beloved. He ran through airports for Hertz, joked his way through Hollywood movies, and became a symbol of success that America adored. But on a dark night in June 1994, that perfect image was shattered by a crime so brutal it defied belief. The hero was accused of a vicious double murder, leading to the most sensational trial in modern history.
I'll let the go.
This is AC. I have OJ in the car. I'm coming up the freeway.
O.J. Simpson's, he's very much a character out of Shakespeare play. Here's a man who had everything and lost everything and became from a adored athlete to a pariah.
The world watched, captivated by every moment, but the cameras never showed you the most important part of the story. They never showed you the secret he'd been hiding for years. To understand the verdict that shocked the nation, it's essential to first remember the hero America refused to let go of. The all-American hero. Before he was a defendant, he was an icon so beloved, so untouchable, that America simply refused to believe he was capable of being a monster. Orenthal James Simpson was the embodiment of the American dream, a story forged in hardship and resolve. He rose from the gritty housing projects of San Francisco, battling rickets as a child, which forced him to wear braces on his legs. This early struggle seemed only to fuel his determination. He transformed himself into a football prodigy, a force of nature on the field. At the University of Southern California, he was practically a god, a two-time All-American who ran with a grace and power that seemed otherworldly, culminating in a Heisman Trophy win in 1968 by the largest margin in history. In the NFL, he didn't just play the game, he transcended it. As a running back for the often struggling Buffalo Bills, the Juice was a beacon of excellence. In 1973, he became the first player to rush for over 2,000 yards in a single season, and he did it in just 14 games. He was an artist of motion, weaving through defenders with an elegance that belied his explosive power, setting records that would land him in the Hall of Fame on his first ballot. But unlike other athletes of his era, OJ's ambition didn't end at the goal line. He possessed a rare, effortless charm that the cameras loved, and he leveraged it perfectly. He became one of the first black athletes to achieve massive mainstream commercial success, breaking barriers in the corporate world. His famous Hertz commercials, showing him leaping over luggage in a tailored suit, weren't just ads. They were cultural touchstones that made him a friendly, familiar face to millions. He became a fixture on television, not just as an actor, but as a respected broadcaster for shows like Monday Night Football. He had a unique ability to make people feel at ease, a non-threatening charisma that made him universally popular across all demographics. This carefully crafted public image was his greatest asset. Hollywood soon came calling, and he transitioned seamlessly into acting. His role as the bumbling Detective Nordberg in the Naked Gun franchise endeared him to a whole new generation. He wasn't just a retired football player. He was a genuine movie star, a man who seemed to succeed at everything he touched. His fame created a powerful shield, an aura of goodwill so complete that it seemed impenetrable. In 1977, at the peak of his celebrity, he met a beautiful 18-year-old waitress named Nicole Brown. Their relationship was presented to the world as a fairy tale romance, a story the public eagerly consumed. They were a stunning couple, attending glamorous parties and living a life of unimaginable luxury in their Brentwood mansion. But from the beginning, what the public saw as romantic devotion was, in private, a suffocating possessiveness. OJ reportedly controlled what she wore, who she saw, and where she went. This control was the foundation of a dark and violent secret that was already taking root. The first documented 911 call came in 1989. Police arrived to find a bruised and terrified Nicole hiding in the bushes, her face bloodied, telling them, "He's going to kill me." The officers saw her injuries, they heard her fear, but they also saw her husband, O.J. Simpson, the hero, standing calmly in his bathrobe. He charmed them, deflected, and the incident was quietly managed with a misdemeanor charge that resulted in minimal consequences. It was a pattern that would repeat. Police were called to their home 8 times for domestic disturbances before 1994. Each time, the hero's fame acted as a buffer, a get-out-of-jail-free card for a crime that was happening in plain sight. He was building his legacy in the spotlight, while his rage was festering in the dark. By the time the world's cameras finally turned to him, the monster was already fully formed. The trial of a century. On the night of June 12, 1994, the fairy tale ended. The hero's mask shattered, and a horrifying secret was dragged into the light for the entire world to see. The bodies of Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend, Ron Goldman, were discovered in a brutal, bloody scene outside her home. The investigation immediately pointed to one person. 5 days later, instead of surrendering, O.J. Simpson fled, leading police on a bizarre, slow-speed chase in a white Ford Bronco, with his friend Al Cowlings at the wheel. For 2 hours, 95 million people watched live, a nation mesmerized and horrified as their hero became a fugitive on national television. That chase wasn't just a police pursuit. It was the public death of an icon. The trial of the century that followed became the biggest media spectacle in history, giving birth to the 24-hour news cycle as we know it. Networks like CNN and the new Court TV provided gavel-to-gavel coverage, turning the attorneys, witnesses, and even Judge Lance Ito into household names. But this trial wasn't just about a double murder. It became the public autopsy of O.J.'s hidden life. Prosecutor Marcia Clark, under immense pressure and facing sexist media scrutiny about her hair and courtroom demeanor, laid out a mountain of damning evidence. A trail of blood drops with O.J.'s DNA at the crime scene, bloody shoe prints from a rare Bruno Magli shoe he owned, and hair and fiber evidence linking him to the victims. At the center of it all was a bloody glove found on his property that matched one left behind. But the core of her case was the secret the world was never meant to see. O.J. Simpson was not a hero, but a man consumed by jealousy and rage. She presented Nicole's own words from her diary, detailing years of abuse. The jury heard a chilling 911 call where Nicole pleaded for help as O.J. screamed in the background. They saw photographs of her bruised and battered face. The prosecution's goal was to strip away the celebrity and show the jury the monster hiding behind the smile. But O.J. had the dream team, a group of the best defense attorneys money could buy, including Robert Shapiro, F. Lee Bailey, and a then unknown Robert Kardashian. Led by the brilliant and charismatic Johnny Cochran, a revered figure in Los Angeles for his work on civil rights cases. Their strategy was a masterclass in deflection and doubt. They understood that in a celebrity trial, the story you tell is more important than the facts you present. They systematically attacked the credibility of the Los Angeles Police Department, suggesting evidence was planted and the crime scene was hopelessly contaminated. They argued that the blood samples had been mishandled, creating just enough uncertainty to undermine the seemingly ironclad DNA evidence. Their masterstroke was pivoting the entire trial from a case about domestic violence to a case about racial injustice. Cochran framed O.J. not as an abuser, but as a successful black man being framed by a racist police force, a narrative that resonated deeply in a city still scarred by the Rodney King riots. This narrative found its villain in Detective Mark Furman, who was exposed on the stand for lying about his use of racial slurs after the defense unearthed damning audio tapes. Furman's disgrace tainted the entire investigation in the eyes of the jury and the public. Cochran had changed the question. The trial was no longer, did O.J. do it? It was, can you trust the police? And then came the defining moment of the trial, a piece of pure courtroom theater. The prosecution, confident in their evidence, asked O.J. to try on the bloody leather gloves.
Your Honor, at this time, the people would ask that Mr. Simpson step forward and try on the glove recovered at Bundy as well as the glove recovered at Rockingham.
In front of the jury and millions watching at home, he struggled to pull them over his hands, making a show of how they appeared visibly too small. In that moment, watching his client, Johnny Cochran delivered the most famous line in legal history. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
It was a simple rhyming slogan that was impossibly powerful. It didn't matter that the gloves may have shrunk from being soaked in blood, or that O.J. was wearing latex gloves underneath. What mattered was the performance. In a trial that had become a television show, It was the perfect dramatic climax. The long fall from grace. The not guilty verdict was supposed to be the end, but for O.J. Simpson, it was the beginning of a lifelong prison of his own making. On October 3rd, 1995, after less than 4 hours of deliberation, the jury acquitted him on both counts of murder. The verdict hit like a seismic shock, instantly exposing a deep and painful rift in the country. The reaction, broadcast on live television from workplaces and city squares, revealed two fundamentally different Americas, each with its own valid and painful experience of the justice system. In one America, there was celebration and relief, a feeling that a black man had finally beaten a corrupt system that had failed them for generations. In the other, there was outrage and disbelief, a sense that a wealthy, guilty man had gotten away with murder because of his fame. The trial didn't just divide a nation, it held up a mirror to its deepest wounds. But for the families of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown, the fight was not over. Led by Ron's determined father, Fred Goldman, they pursued a different kind of justice in civil court. There, without the spectacle, and with a lower burden of proof, a preponderance of the evidence rather than beyond a reasonable doubt, a different story unfolded. A jury listened to the same evidence and came to a starkly different conclusion. In 1997, they found O.J. Simpson liable for the wrongful deaths of both victims. He was ordered to pay $33.5 million in damages.
Fred Goldman, the father of the man who was killed along with the ex-wife of O.J. Simpson, is refiling his wrongful death lawsuit against the former football star. Goldman won a judgment in 1997 for $33.5 million from Simpson.
The verdict didn't put him behind bars, but it legally branded him a killer. From that moment on, O.J. became a social pariah. He was shunned by the celebrity world that had once adored him and kicked out of the exclusive country clubs where he once played golf. His life became a relentless cat-and-mouse game with the Goldman family, who relentlessly pursued his assets to collect on the judgment. His fall from grace was absolute. In 2006, he participated in a book and television special titled If I Did It, in which he presented a disturbing, hypothetical account of how the murders might have happened. The public backlash was so severe that the project was canceled, and the rights were later awarded to the Goldman family, who published the book under the title If I Did It: Confessions of the Killer. His life after the verdict was a slow public decay, but the final karmic twist was yet to come. In 2007, O.J. led a group of men in an armed robbery at a Las Vegas hotel, confronting two memorabilia dealers in a bizarre attempt to reclaim his own property. It was a pathetic echo of his former glory, a desperate attempt to hold on to the remnants of his past. This time, there was no dream team, no racial narrative, and no escape. He was convicted and sentenced to 33 years in prison. The great O.J. Simpson became inmate number 102782-0, trading his mansions for an 8-by-12-foot cell at a remote Nevada prison. When he finally appeared before a parole board in 2017, the world saw a man who seemed to show little remorse, a final glimpse of the character hidden behind the mask for so long. For many, his imprisonment felt like justice, long delayed, had finally been served. In the end, O.J. Simpson's legacy is not one of a Heisman Trophy or a Hollywood career, but of a chilling question that still haunts America. His journey from an untouchable idol to a national villain forced the world to confront a devastating truth. The charming face a hero shows the public can be a mask for the monster hiding in plain sight. The trial of the century became a cultural phenomenon, a spectacle of fame, race, and media obsession that ultimately overshadowed the two innocent people who lost their lives. His story remains a defining chapter in American history, a symbol of a justice system put on trial and the destructive power of a secret that refused to stay buried. He changed the nature of news, celebrity, and justice in America forever. This raises a final, difficult question. Did O.J. Simpson's fame allow him to get away with murder? Or did it create a media circus so vast that the truth itself became the ultimate casualty? Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you found this deep dive into one of history's most shocking cases revealing, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more stories about the secrets of iconic figures. Thanks for watching.